Is it worth using Upwork as a freelancer? Previously, I made a video on my 90-day experiment on Upwork. And in this video, I want to specifically go over who is Upwork for and who is it not for. And I'll tell you 3 situations under which I think Upwork is great, and within that also give you examples of why it won't be great for certain kind of people. So in the internet you get this one black and white answer, right? Upwork is great, Upwork is the best, Upwork is the worst, never go on Upwork. But reality is never black and white, it's always gray. And I'm not going to give you a black and white answer, I'm going to give you a gray answer. And the gray answer is it depends on who you are and what position of life you're in. So if you're up for a video that's going to get you confused and make you exercise your judgment more rather than trust a content creator giving you a black and white answer, stay tuned. You will receive an answer in the end, although a gray answer. So the number 1 factor is location. Have you heard of the saying, earn in dollars, spend it in rupees or pesos? It is true. If you live in India, Thailand, Vietnam, where the living expenses are much lower, and you earn in dollars getting paid by clients in the US, Europe, you're in for a treat. You have leverage there. And the bad thing is, if you're living in the West and the clients are paying you from the West on Upwork to you, that's not really great because you're earning in dollars and spending in dollars. And typically, locally, you would have earned much more. Here's where I'm at, UK. For contract where you get anywhere between like $400 to $500 pounds a day for my experience level. You can't get that kind of rates on Upwork, never. But what's the point of Upwork then? With Upwork, you'll get a constant lead of clients. They will not pay you as much as you get locally, but you'll get a ready stream of clients because it's a global pool of talent. So that's the number 1 factor, location. Whether you're in the East or the West, you need to think about that. If you're in the East, good choice. You're in a great position to leverage that. Speaking of leverage, before we go into number 2, we know the story of Archimedes, right? Give me a lever long enough and I can change the world. What is the definition of leverage? An asset of some sort that you build up, which you can use like a machine to get a massive amount of work done. I'm speaking from the context of Archimedes trying to use a lever to move the world. At any point in life, you want to apply leverage as much as possible. YouTube for me is leverage. A video I make today, for the next 10 years, it's going to earn me views, exposure, and everything. It's leverage. The person who's going to grow quicker on Upwork is the person who has the most leverage, and the leverage comes from either their brand or their experiences. For example, some new sign up on Upwork, say his profile says ex-Google, ex-Facebook. First of all, I would think like, why are you on Upwork? Why don't you just get a stream of full clients? And the answer would be, he probably doesn't have a brand to himself. He might have worked in great companies with great brands, but he might not have a personal brand. For in that case, that kind of person has good leverage on Upwork because his Google, Facebook, X title would immediately give great trust signals to clients, making them more likely to work with. The other leverage that experience brings with itself is when you compare beginners and experienced developers, right? For example, a beginner developer will have to work, learn from mistakes, and learn the programming concepts itself through their client projects on Upwork. And that's not good because in Upwork, you're not getting paid as much and you're learning at your own cost, which means you're not efficient and you're not reaping the fruits of your labor. That's not very good. But if it's someone very experienced developers, 10 years of experience, they could pick up these small projects, get them done like quickly in minutes because of how fast they can do things, and charge the same rate as the beginner would do, or even higher. Which means in terms of the time spent, the expert spent much less time than the beginner to complete the same task. So experience is leverage as well because you could get things done quicker. So leverage comes in 2 forms, experience and brand value. People with both would have a much higher chance of getting up and running quicker on platforms like Upwork. Beginners, if you're new to programming and stuff, it's not very ideal, but unless something applies, which is what we're going to talk about in the next point. But before we go into the next point, I want to share with you the story of Paul Graham. Paul Graham is the founder of Y Combinator. If you're in the startup world, you'll be familiar with Y Combinator. It's the biggest and the best startup accelerator in the whole world. Paul Graham, when he finished his PhD, he spent about I think 4 or 3 years just doing 2 things. He would pursue his hobbies. He would go out to Europe and learn painting, and when he runs out of money, he would do some client work, fill up his bank, and then he would continue painting, and so goes the cycle back and forth. He would use the client work to fund his risky hobbies. He was a PhD graduate from one of the Ivy League schools, and he was still doing that because that was his goal. That brings me to my final point. It depends on your goal and your purpose. And there are four kinds of people. I would class them as students, entrepreneurs, freelancers, and people switching careers. So firstly, for students. Students, if you're at a university and you want some pocket money and you want something to add up in your CV, so that you're using it as a stepping stone to a future career as a developer job or any other job, or as a future career to freelance itself, for that stepping stone, Upwork is awesome. Because you're in your university, you're going to get paid more than in your part-time job through Upwork, definitely, depending on the field, of course, but that's perfect because you get paid more than what you would in your part-time job. You get experience that's valuable to your specific industry, which will look great on your CV when you graduate. Number three, you have this other upside of becoming potentially a great freelancer. I feel like Upwork or freelancing would be better than an internship because it just not shows your technical expertise, it shows you can deal with clients, deal with business requirements, communication skills, and all those soft skills that you see in these 50-page job descriptions. So Upwork is great to tick all those boxes, client work specifically. For people switching careers, for example, a dentist who wants to become a programmer, it's also great. Why? Because while he's a dentist, on the side, he could take up client gigs on Upwork and build up his CV. Again, this would act as a stepping stone into a full-time, say, developer job that he wants in the future. And number three is for entrepreneurs. Speaking of bootstrapped entrepreneurs, which means they're funding themselves, no investors, no backup money or anything. For bootstrapped entrepreneurs, I think it's perfect because you can do what Paul Graham did, right? You could work on your ideas, build up your startup, and you run out of money, do 1 or 3 gigs, earn enough money to give you like 4 more months of runway, spend that money, build up your project, build up your startup. Again, when the money runs out or is about to run out, you do another few gigs. For those kind of entrepreneurs who are bootstrapped, I think it's great because they could use Upwork as this sort of like bank you withdraw from whenever you want. Obviously, you have to pay in terms of your time. Now, finally, for freelancers too, the same thing applies. For freelancers, I believe the ideal case is if you have your own platform, your own website that's bringing in clients, leads, and everything. Those clients are the ones who you could charge most to because they're coming out of your own brand. And Upwork is not taking a cut and you're not facing this global competition. So if you have your own platform, that's the ideal. But to get to that level, you have to write like lots of content on your website, SEO, market yourself out there. That takes time. So while you're building up towards that, Upwork could be again a great stepping stone, that initial starting point which would give you a stream of clients, although lower paying ones. So that's how I planned my career in freelancing, but I changed plans and I'll make another video on why I changed plans. Now, the kind of person I don't think Upwork is great for is people who want to build a long-term career in software development, and especially if you're a beginner. Here's why. Initially, I thought Upwork, when I do everything by myself, I could learn a lot, go really deep, choose my own projects, and I'll become a better developer, right? Experience you get from mentorships, I don't really need it because I could just look it up on the internet. But that's not true for various reasons. I realized in Upwork, speed matters. The faster you do things, the better you get paid, the better your hourly rate is. You have to get things done as quick as possible, which means you don't have time to go deep into topics. That was a drawback of Upwork. For that case, I feel like Upwork is not great. It's better to get a job where you can learn from mentors and go really deep on one tech stack. Also on Upwork, you're switching constantly from project to project to project. There's a switching cost. And for every new project, you'd have to learn new tech stack. You're living in the shallow level. You're not going deep with one technology. Finally, do I recommend? I'll offer you the great answer. You choose for yourself. I don't know what your situation is, but generally speaking, as a stepping stone, yes, in many cases, it's great as a stepping stone. Whether you're a freelancer looking to build up your own platform, use Upwork as a stepping stone, great. If you're an entrepreneur building up a startup and you want some supplemental income, great. If you're a student who wants to build up their CV, resume, get some pocket money that would pay you more than an internship, with at the same time giving you relevant experience in the field you directly want to work in, great. So again, depends on where you are and who you are. No black and white answer. Choose for yourself, decide, and do what's best for you. That's my take on it.